You know, it's funny, isn't it? Like we see a cat and we just know it's a cat, right? But trying to get a computer to understand that, to actually recognize a cat in a picture,
Hmm.
it's surprisingly hard. Really makes you think about how we learn.
It really does. There's this hidden layer of understanding that we have as humans, this intuition, like furry face, pointy ears, that kind of thing. And our brains just go, yep, that's a cat. Computers, not so much.
So that's what we're going to be diving into today, peeling back that layer of how AI actually thinks. And our guide for this deep dive is Nigel Toon's book, N-U-W, How AI Thinks.
Great book. He's got this lifelong fascination with intelligence, both human and artificial. And the book is structured in this really interesting way that it kind of mirrors how AI itself has developed.
Yeah, I noticed that, how he starts with like the foundation, how AI systems learn, and then goes from there.
Exactly. It's like, how do we as humans learn from the information around us, the data, the experiences? He starts there and then builds out.
Which I think is a great way to start because he makes this point early on that computers are amazing at logic, at calculations, but human intelligence, it's got all these layers to it.
Right, like way more nuanced. He uses the example of chess or Go, how AI can't just map out every single possible move because it would just be too much. So instead, it learns to play, learns winning strategies by recognizing patterns in tons of games.
So instead of calculating every possibility, it's more like a chess grandmaster studying thousands of matches, looking for those patterns, those tendencies.
Exactly. Or think about something like renting an apartment. You're not just using pure logic to compare rent prices and square footage, right? You're using intuition, gut feeling, that kind of thing.
You're also thinking about the neighborhood, the vibe.
Totally. And AI has to navigate that kind of uncertainty too. Toon talks about how AI uses probability and statistics to deal with incomplete information, let's say, predicting traffic patterns.
Right, because you never know when there might be an accident or construction or something that throws everything off.
Exactly. So it has to use probability to say, okay, based on the data, this is the most likely route, even though things could change.
So we've got AI playing chess, predicting traffic, but how does it go from that to recognizing a cat in a photo? And this is where Toon dives into deep learning, right?
Yes, and it's fascinating. This is where it gets really cool. Deep learning lets AI learn from huge amounts of data. Imagine showing a computer mountains of cat pictures.
That's how it starts to figure it out.
Well, it's not just somehow. What's so cool is that these deep learning systems, especially these things called convolutional neural networks, CNNs for short, they're actually inspired by our own visual system.
CNNs. That sounds intense.
They are, but they're also kind of elegant when you think about it. Imagine your brain breaking down an image into different features like edges, shapes, then analyzing those features layer by layer to build up an understanding. That's kind of what a CNN does. It's like a simplified version of how we process visual information.
So it's like AI is starting to see the world in
Yeah.
a way. That's pretty wild.
It's definitely a different way of processing information. And Toon, he doesn't just stop there. He talks about this AI system, DeepMind's Deep Q network, and this thing learned to play Atari games. And get this, it wasn't programmed with the rules of the games.
Wait, so it just started playing? How did it know what to do?
Trial and error. It was rewarded for doing well, kind of like training a dog with treats, and it figured out the rules just by playing? Amazing, right?
That is mind-blowing.
Right.
But all this learning, all this processing power, it has to run on something, right?
Yeah.
This is where the technology behind AI comes in.
Exactly. And this is where Toon makes this mind-blowing connection to, get this, Fermi's paradox. You know, that whole "where are all the aliens" question. He suggests that maybe, just maybe, other civilizations haven't reached us because they never stumbled upon the transistor.
Okay, now that's a thought I've never had before.
Yeah.
But I see where he's going with this, how those tiny transistors, those things that keep getting smaller and more powerful because of Moore's law.
They're the bedrock of everything we're talking about, the foundation.
They're like the unsung heroes of the AI revolution.
Totally. Without them, we'd be stuck in the technological dark ages. But it's not just about hardware. The software that powers AI, that's got its own incredible story.
From what, breaking codes during World War II to generating creative text formats like ChatGPT does today.
Yeah.
That's quite a journey.
Oh, absolutely. It's incredible to see how software has evolved alongside our understanding of language and how we process information.
And that evolution, like, it wouldn't have happened without those key breakthroughs. I mean, look at Grace Hopper's work on compilers, right? That was huge. It made programming languages more accessible, paved the way for all this amazing AI development.
Completely. Her realization that we as humans think in language, not ones and zeros, it was revolutionary. Compilers bridge that gap, let us write code that's closer to how we naturally think.
And speaking of language, Toon dives into these transformer models, the things that power AI systems like ChatGPT. They use this concept called attention to understand how words relate to each other, which is how they can write different kinds of creative content.
Right. It's like when you're reading a sentence and certain words just jump out at you as being more important to the meaning. That's attention. And these transformer models, they're designed to focus on those key words, just like your brain does.
So it's not just about understanding individual words, it's about understanding the relationship between them. It's like AI is learning grammar and syntax and like the nuances of language.
Exactly. It's a whole other level of complexity. And none of this would be possible without the insane amount of information we have today. I mean, the internet, it's not just cat videos anymore.
Oh, believe me, I know. I've seen my fair share of cat videos.
Haha. But seriously, the internet is this massive database, this pool of information that AI can learn from. Toon even brings up this crazy concept called Shannon's limit.
Shannon's limit, I'm not familiar with that one.
It's wild. Basically, there's this theoretical limit to how much information you can send, even in our brains. It ties the physical world to information processing in this really deep way.
Okay, now that is fascinating. So we've got AI that can learn, this amazing technology behind it, and a universe of data to learn from. Makes you wonder, where does it all lead?
And that's where it gets really interesting. Toon takes us beyond just the theory and shows how this is all playing out in the real world. Like, did you know AI is being used to tackle climate change?
Really? I mean, I know AI can do a lot, but that seems like a huge problem.
It is huge, but AI can help. Toon talks about how AI can optimize energy grids, making them way more efficient.
Oh, right, because we waste so much energy with the way things are set up now.
Exactly. So AI can create these smarter grids that can seamlessly integrate renewable energy sources, making the whole system more sustainable. And get this, AI is even being used in research on fusion energy.
Fusion energy? You mean that, like, almost mythical clean energy source that we've been hearing about forever?
That's the one. It's incredibly complex, but AI is being used to help control those super hot plasmas inside fusion reactors, something that's incredibly tough even with our most advanced tech.
So AI could be the key to unlocking fusion energy. That would be incredible. It's like AI to the rescue.
It really has the potential to be a game changer, and that's just one example. Toon also talks about AI in education, like with AI tutors and personalized learning.
I've heard a bit about that. It sounds amazing. The idea that every student could have a tutor that adapts to their learning style, their pace.
Right. Toon tells this great story about this 13-year-old student in China who was really struggling with math, and they started using an AI tutoring system, and they went from like dreading math to actually excelling in it.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like AI can unlock potential that might otherwise stay hidden. It's like having a personalized coach for your brain.
Exactly. And this isn't just science fiction. This is happening right now. AI is also revolutionizing healthcare, particularly in diagnostics. Toon talks about how AI can analyze medical images like X-rays and MRIs and spot things that even trained doctors might miss.
So it's like having an extra set of eyes, and these eyes never get tired, never miss a detail.
Precisely. It leads to quicker and more accurate diagnoses, which is obviously crucial for getting people the right treatment.
Absolutely. It's like AI is becoming this invaluable tool for doctors, helping them make better decisions faster.
Exactly. And it's not just diagnostics. AI is also speeding up drug discovery, especially for rare diseases, which, as you can imagine, haven't gotten a lot of attention because the research is so expensive.
Yeah, it's always heartbreaking to hear those stories about people suffering from these rare diseases because there's just not enough research, not enough funding. So how's AI changing that?
Well, Toon talks about this company, Helix, that uses AI to, get this, identify existing drugs that could be repurposed to treat these rare diseases.
Wait, so instead of starting from scratch, they're using AI to find new uses for drugs that are already out there.
Exactly. It's like hitting fast forward on the whole drug discovery process, potentially getting treatments to people much faster.
That's amazing. So much faster, and probably less expensive too. It seems like we've mostly talked about these really complex, high-tech fields, but Toon also talks about how AI is being used for something else that really surprised me, protecting elephants from poachers.
Right. That's a great example of how AI can be applied in ways you might not expect. They're using this thing called reinforcement learning, which is basically training AI on data about poaching patterns.
So the AI learns how poachers operate, like where they go, what they do.
Exactly. So then it can predict where poaching might happen next, and that allows park rangers to be more proactive.
That's really incredible. It's like AI is becoming this like secret weapon in the fight to protect endangered species.
It's a powerful tool for conservation. And it's a good reminder that AI can be used for good in so many ways.
It really is.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about the other side of the coin, right? Because AI isn't this perfect thing, this magic solution. There are concerns, things we have to be careful about as it becomes more powerful.
Absolutely, it's not a magic bullet. And Toon addresses those concerns head on.
So, what are some of the potential pitfalls we need to be aware of? What are the things that keep AI experts up at night?
Well, one of the biggest ones, and Toon talks about this quite a bit, is bias.
Bias, huh? Yeah, I guess because AI learns from the data we feed it, and we all know, humans aren't exactly known for being unbiased.
Exactly. It's like that old saying, garbage in, garbage out. Even if an AI seems totally objective, it could be perpetuating some pretty nasty biases from the data it was trained on.
So, like, even with the best intentions, we could end up creating AI that reflects our own prejudices, our blind spots.
Exactly. Toon uses this example of AI being used in hiring, right? Which seems like a good idea, making things more efficient, more data-driven. But if the data used to train that AI reflects historical biases in hiring, guess what?
It's just going to perpetuate those biases, maybe even amplify them.
Exactly. So we end up with AI that's screening out qualified candidates from certain backgrounds, not because they're not a good fit, but because of these hidden biases in the data.
Right, right. It's like we need to be so careful about the data we use to train these systems, make sure it's as neutral as possible.
And then constantly checking the AI, making sure it's not showing bias in its decisions.
Which is a whole other challenge, right? Because how do you even do that?
Right. It's a huge challenge, but it's something we have to figure out. And then there's the whole other thing, the big one that everyone seems to be talking about, AI becoming more intelligent than us.
Okay, yeah, that one definitely gets the imagination going. I mean, it's like something out of a movie, right?
Yeah.
AI becomes self-aware, takes over the world.
It's classic science fiction, but Toon approaches it from a more, I guess you could say, grounded perspective. Like, what does it even mean for AI to be intelligent? Is it just about processing power, or is it more than that?
Yeah, I mean, we think of intelligence as being able to think for yourself, to be creative, to understand emotions, all these things that computers don't really do, right?
Right. He argues that intelligence isn't this one-dimensional thing, that it's about understanding the world, adapting to new situations, making decisions with incomplete information. AI is getting better at that, but humans, we're still way ahead in a lot of ways.
Like common sense, right? That's something we humans take for granted, but AI really struggles with it.
Totally. Toon uses the example of, like, a baby learning about the world. They're constantly observing, experimenting, figuring things out. They develop this understanding of how objects behave, even though they can't even talk yet. Cause and effect, gravity, social interaction, things we don't even think about, but they're all forms of intelligence that AI is still trying to grasp.
Wow, when you put it that way, babies are pretty amazing.
They are tiny little learning machines. But to your point about AI surpassing human intelligence, it's a big question, right? And Toon doesn't shy away from it. He talks about this concept called an intelligence explosion, where AI reaches this point where it starts designing even better AI, leading to this, like, runaway acceleration of intelligence.
Okay, that's both exciting and terrifying at the same time. Like, are we going to create something that eventually surpasses us, becomes the dominant intelligence on the planet?
Right, it's the ultimate question. And honestly, no one knows for sure. But Toon's point is that we're still a long way from that current AI is very specialized, very task-oriented.
So we're still the ones calling the shots for now. But what about the future, right? What can we do to make sure AI develops in a way that's beneficial, that doesn't end up, turning on us?
That's the key question, isn't it? And Toon talks a lot about responsible AI development, which is all about transparency, accountability, making sure AI is aligned with our values.
So it's not just about the tech itself, it's about how we choose to use it.
Exactly. And having those conversations now, setting those guidelines is crucial because AI is only going to become more powerful.
It's like we're standing at this crossroads, and the choices we make now are going to determine the course of the future. It's a lot of responsibility.
It is, but it's also incredibly exciting. AI has the potential to solve some of our biggest problems, to improve our lives in countless ways. But we have to be thoughtful. We have to be careful.
Well said. Toon's book, How AI Thinks, has given us a lot to think about.
It really has. It's a fantastic exploration of this technology that's changing the world right before our eyes.
And speaking of things to think about, Toon leaves us with this final, thought-provoking question, and it's one that I'm still wrestling with. He asks, if intelligence is the ability to adapt and survive, does AI's increasing capability mean it's becoming more intelligent than we are?
Whoa, right. Like, that just makes you stop and think, doesn't it? It challenges everything we think we know about intelligence, about our place in the universe. It's a question that'll stay with you for a while.
It will. And on that note, we're going to wrap things up, but wow, this deep dive into AI has been amazing.
It has. So much to unpack there.
Right. We've covered how AI learns, the tech behind it, the ways it's already changing the world, and the big questions we're going to have to face as it keeps evolving.
It's a lot to take in, but it's important stuff.
It really is. So, to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this journey into the world of AI. And remember, keep asking those big questions because the future's being written right now, and we're all a part of it. Until next time.